All right, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for joining us today for our Marching Forward Monday VBE showcase. Today, we're going to have 3 Navoba certified veteran-owned businesses presenting. If you're not speaking, please keep your microphone muted throughout this session. It is being recorded and it will be available on our YouTube channel later. And if you have any questions, please feel free to use the chat box throughout this session. We'll open the floor for questions at the end of all presentations. Please welcome our very first presenter, Jeff Anderson.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Hope everyone is doing well. I'm going to get our slide up here. Hopefully everybody can see the screen. If you have any problems, please let me know. But I wanted to thank you for your time and give you a little bit of background about ATEC Distribution. So we are a electrical distribution company that also focuses on solar products and EV charging stations. And we started the business about 3.5 years ago. And the goal was to be able to provide both local contractors as well as facility managers, property managers, building maintenance folks, the ability to come to a privately owned, service-disabled, veteran-owned small business that has the ability and the resources to supply them with all the electrical needs for their specific projects. So one of the things that makes us different, we are only 3.5 years old, and I've been in this industry for about almost 30 years now. We focus primarily on those customers who aren't getting the service and the level of attention that the larger distribution companies tend to not offer. We have a great group of folks that work here. We've got professional engineers. We have a master electrician on staff. We have individuals who've been part of electrical contractor companies and maintenance companies, so they know how to not only what the products are, but how to install them. And they're able to provide a lot of knowledge and resources in helping our customers come up with the best solutions for what they're looking for. One of the things that is difficult for a distribution company to get across, besides the fact that we provide material, is how we can help impact you and your business. And I hope today that that's one of the things I'll be able to pass on to everybody. So to begin with, I know that, and in my industry for sure, we are all concerned about reducing carbon footprint. We're concerned about reducing consumption of energy, and we're also focused on trying to find renewable sources of energy to help everybody. One of the things that we are able to do, and I hope this would resonate with you all, is focus on areas within your organization and in your company where we can help. So I'm going to pick 3 today and cover those, but I do want to emphasize, as an electrical distribution company, and we are a full-line wholesale distributor, if you think about it from an easy perspective, whether it's your house, the building that you're working in, the hospital, the grocery store, anything that the power line that comes in from the utility and connects to the facility, everything from that connection, from the pipe and the wire in the walls, the switches on the walls, the light fixtures, if it's a facility that has an industrial facility, motors, drives, switchgear, all of that material we sell. So that makes it easy for you to think, especially in your house. Everything that comes into your load center in your basement that has all of your circuit breakers in, and then all the wires and connectivity that goes throughout your house to turn your fans on and your lights on and your heater and all that. We can provide that information. So that's kind of a 30,000 foot level what we do. But specifically for businesses, I know that there is always a need to try to improve the quality of life and the health and well-being of employees. And one of the ways that we can do that is to focus on what negatively impacts them. And the biggest area in the office is lighting. The second thing that we hear about is our employees and people in general who are wondering what they can do to help participate in the reduction of greenhouse gases or help reduce a carbon footprint. And in this case, we're going to talk about EV charging stations. And the third area that I like to focus on is the ability to have an actual business facility use solar power to create renewable energy that will help offset the usage from the grid, as well as be a clean source of power for the business. So in addition to those three areas I'm going to talk about, just remember that we also focus on, and with our ability to reduce energy costs for your facility, we also focus on the ability to provide rebate incentives, fill those out for you depending on the jurisdiction, as well as identify any tax incentives that might be available. So the first area I mentioned, very simple, the light that is in the facility. A lot of times individuals complain that it's difficult to see, they have eye strain. It may not be a well-lit facility. LED lighting has so many different options to take care of that, whether it be color rendering, whether it be the dimming options available. You can basically create the atmosphere in the room with the lighting that's available, whether it's ceiling lighting, lamps that are on tables, can lights, up lighting, and the controls that go with it. We're able to provide that, and you can create by in the person's office or their cube, their specific requirement or need or ask as far as what makes them more productive, what makes them feel better within the environment that they come to work in every day. The other nice thing about LED lighting, it has a long life. Most LED lights last 100,000 hours if they're kept on 24/7. And LED lighting obviously reduces the energy because it creates a lot less heat. And with heat causes components to wear and tear and need to be replaced. With LED lighting, that there is very, very little heat. Second area that could help attract employees as well as allow employees to feel like they're participating is providing EV charging stations at the facilities. A lot of folks are doing this now in property managers are doing it in parking lots or outside the facility. They have the ability to use any type of EV charging car, and with the multifaceted use plug, you can plug in a Tesla, you can plug in a Ford Lightning, you can plug in basically any car that's on the market. There are many ways to entice your employees to purchase a EV vehicle, and having this available for them to plug in when they're at the office all day is a great way to make it easier for them. It also is great to have that outside your building when you have customers coming in and they can see that this business is proactively taking some steps to help reduce the energy footprint. It does make a big deal when you're talking about reducing gas producing or gas using cars on the roadway. It reduces pollution. And there's a number of areas, and you can see within the slide the benefits of having EV charging and having it available for the people in your facility, as well as those visiting the facility. The third thing that I mentioned earlier is our ability to provide solar installation, the products for the installation, and this is turnkey. We also have installers that work with us. So whether it's a solar garden that's off the building, located in a field, or if it's on the roof, they're even mounting them on the sides of buildings now. But solar energy has been around a while. It's a proven technology. Between solar energy and EV charging and the use of LED lighting, you really have the ability to reduce the energy consumption and as well as the cost to maintain the facility. And it's very easy to install. It's very easy to size. We have the ability with just taking a picture from Google Earth of the property, the space on the roof, and getting 1 year's worth of your bills. We can come up with a solution that would guarantee you the ability to offset a major portion of your electrical bill each and every month. And if you produce more energy through solar, you actually have the ability to convert it back into the power company, and they will then provide you credits for what you've given back to the company. And that helps the grid in general, because as everybody knows, we've got rolling blackouts normally in California, and we're starting to hear that may be coming to the Midwest and other portions of the country. So anything we can do to reduce the load on the grid would definitely help all of us. So some of the key benefits that we talked about, just using LED lighting, using EV charging, and solar. Our job at ATEC Distribution is really to focus on how can we help provide a solution, and not just sell the product, but provide a solution that will allow you to have a good return on investment and take you step by step through the process, which allows us to, excuse me, my timer, which allows us to help you with your initiatives. Hopefully each of the businesses have initiatives to reduce energy, as well as to help the employees' well-being and make it a more comfortable, inviting work environment. So here's a couple examples that we have of projects we've done in the past. We've provided parking lot and LED parking lot and in-store lighting for Colburn's grocery stores. We've retrofitted US banks throughout the country. We put a solar array on an Amazon distribution center in New Jersey, and we've provided numerous EV charging stations to multiple customers throughout the Minneapolis area. Here's an example of our capability statement. And this, I apologize for if it's hard to read, but I can send this to anybody who is interested. It just gives you an idea of some of the other experiences that we've had. Being a service disabled veteran of small business has given us the ability to work with government entities and any projects that are federally funded, which allows us to help offset some of the requirements that are asked for by the government. So in closing, my call to action would be, if you could provide me with a contact of a person or persons responsible for the maintenance, repair, and operations in your facility, anybody that makes decisions day to day that deals with electrical products, just to maintain what you currently have in place, would love to have their contact information to be able to speak with them about what we can help, how we can help them. Also, anyone that's responsible for managing the diversity program, I would like to have an introduction so I could explain what we do and how we may be able to help. And closing, contact me with any questions, any requests. I will get back to you. And here is my contact information. So that's all I have. Appreciate your time. Thank you. And I'll put my contact information in the chat, and we'll hopefully have some questions at the end of everyone's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And up next, we have William Banfield.
One second here, I will screen share. I'm assuming I'm unmuted. I apologize. I don't know if I'm unmuted.
We can hear you.
Okay. Okay. Good deal. Thank you. Okay.
Are you sharing your screen?
I think I am. No.
Let me make sure. I don't see it. Does anyone else see it?
No screen.
Yeah.
No.
Not yet.
Sorry. It says that I'm sharing.
Yeah, we can see your desktop, but you need
Okay.
to show us your presentation.
Gotcha.
There we go.
You see it now? Wrong.
Yeah,
Okay. I apologize for this.
no worries.
Display settings. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. My name is Bill Banfield. I'm with Delta Financial Group, Delta Resources. We are a service-disabled, veteran-owned small business. We were founded by Lieutenant Commander Alex Dunmire. And in our team, we have a plethora of ex-military staff members, not only as just employees, but also on our advisory board and panel. This gentleman here, Bill Knowles, who is a Navy SEAL, it has the same position that I do. He just works in other areas. What we do is we offer equipment lease and finance structures to medium and large companies. What we found is leasing is typically a very large spend in a lot of industries, and the offering leasing as a diversity spend is a very seamless way to meet the diversity spend objectives. With that, our customers are able to pick out the equipment they want for the term that they want, as well as the maintenance strategies and the maintenance service providers. And we just step in instead of using the vendor finance or the bank or any other alternative funding sources. We become that funding source. And the payments themselves for the equipment lease monthly rental streams is 100% applied towards tier 1 diversity spend and or tier 2 diversity spend. When they formed the company, what they did is they went out and solicited a lot of senior players in the banking, capital markets, equipment lease and finance industry. And collectively in the executive team, we have in excess of 250 years of combined experience, which is very helpful when we get into these unique structures where people need not just the structure expertise, but the actual equipment expertise. And the fact that we do everything in-house allows us to do quick turnaround times, and our input, our credit is done internally, our pricing is done internally, our legal's done. We are a preferred diverse leasing partner with Ricoh, Altec, Lenovo, and several other companies we're in discussions with, and we are already set up for as well. And one of the other things that makes Delta unique is we hold all of the structures for our own account. I apologize, I'll give you the video so there you get to see me. We hold all of the accounts for our own portfolio. So that what that means is you enter a lease agreement with us and you leave with us. It's very important, which I'll explain a little bit more in detail how that sense of security from the onset of a transaction is very important. Sorry. Somewhat in the same 250 years, service disabled veteran owned. We're big on ESG, and the equipment that we do is a wide variety of asset classes. We're more into what we would say the fleet, and when we use the word fleet, it's somewhat of a broad term. It could be a fleet of automobiles, a fleet of trucks, a fleet of heavy equipment, a fleet of forklifts. It can be a fleet of laptops, a fleet of telephones, cellular phones. We take a look at all of these fleets of assets, but also we get the one-off singular transactions where we have to take a look at that asset and really do a deep dive into the technology and the economic useful life cycle and the technological obsolescence risk and exposure. And that's something that I'll talk about in a minute, but how we bring that to the table for our clients. And then with the financing, each transaction really stands on its own merit. Like a customer may order 20 forklifts, and you can't necessarily paint with a broad brush unless they're all going to be going into that one specific application with the same amount of utilization and hours. So what we do is we structure every transaction on its own, every asset on its own, if need be. For the client, we can make things coterminous. For example, you have a 37-month lease or 37-month contract with a prime, and you want to come in and lease heavy equipment to accommodate that agreement. We could do 37 months, 36.5 months. And also things change during the term. We have the flexibility to redeploy assets, do a thing called an EBO, early buyout or early termination. So that flexibility, both from the onset as well as through the term, as well as at the end of the term, is vitally important for the business operation that is very fluid. And again, we gather the analytics, and based on that, that's not so much that we necessarily take out to the public, but rest assured that that's held internally within our organization for the purposes of benefiting the companies and our customers as they go forward. These are sort of the beginning, the cradle to grave, if you will. From the very beginning of any lease transaction, we take a look at the documentation. Documentation is what we call the master lease agreement. A master lease agreement is a master agreement that essentially says this is how we're going to conduct business as we go forward. And it clearly illustrates your expectations of us. And from there, every time an asset is added to it, that goes on that master lease by way of a supplement. And sometimes that's an arduous process to have a master lease put in place, because there's legal gets involved, tax gets involved, engineering gets involved, procurement gets involved, maintenance, operations. So if one of our clients is very comfortable with an existing lease agreement, maybe from one of our competitors or one of the banks, we'll happily take a look at that and review it. And if it meets certain our criteria, we may have to add a few things. We're happy to go with it. And that's somewhat unheard of in this industry. Second thing, during the term, things I had talked about, we allow the return of assets during the term, which is very unique. We don't have any late charges for payments. We don't require security deposit or documentation fees or origination fees. And we can customize reports for our clients. And the customers will say, we want to know what we have in a given state because they're closing down a facility, or by a location number, or what makes, brands, models, because it's the new appropriation year and you want to get your arm around all the assets that you have so you're in a better negotiating position when you're calling in the various vendors to talk about getting bulk purchasing pricing. And at the end of the term, our return provisions are very transparent, essentially just normal wear and tear is customary and operating as it should. And we also do a thing called like for like exchange. So what that means is, for example, you're leasing a laptop and you drop and break the laptop. You don't have to go out and buy a brand new laptop. You can get a 3-year-old laptop to replace it. Again, that's something that's very unheard of in the industry. And then also we can set the fair market value. We have appraisers, ASA master appraisers on staff. I happen to be one. So we can set the appraised value if need be, or we can do third-party independent for just a third-party analysis at end of term. Because at the end of the term, our customers, we try to provide them with as much flexibility as possible. You can say, we want to buy the equipment and then we have it appraised, or you want to extend the lease month to month, or you want to extend it for another year or two, because maybe you had low utilization and you want to redeploy that asset to a lesser demand area. You just call us up and say, this is what our intentions are. And we then readjust the numbers for you for that second life. That's what we call the extension period. Or you can say, we don't want the equipment anymore. We don't need it. Pick it up and take it away. No risk, no money. And then we move forward. So what I wanted to talk about now is a lot of questions I get is, well, this sounds great, but how do we fit you into this flow process? How do we fit Delta, who is a SD VOSB, into our deal flow so we can get the tier 1, tier 2 consideration? And by the way, now's a good point to say that. Even though we are SD VOSB, certified service disabled veteran owned small business, we still know that we have to earn your business. All we really ask for in this entire process is an opportunity to bid and to quote. We still have to have superior pricing. We have to have superior service. We have to have superior documentation. And our differentiators have to be such that we would incentivize you to switch from your current strategy. So with that, when you're normally taking a look at a lease, you're a lessee in this case. So you perform a needs justification, and then you identify the vendors who are going to have that asset. And for this illustration, let's just say we're talking about a 10,000-pound forklift. That'll be our asset of choice here today. So you do a vendor identification. Who makes a 10,000-pound forklift in your area that has the capacity to service? And then you send out an RFP to those respective vendors. From there, You do an interview, vendor interview. You sit down with them, you talk to them. The sales rep comes out. They come out and do a site survey. They want to look at any inclines you have, the topography, what do you need to lift, how high, how far, how many hours you're going to use it. And then from there, maybe you want to do a factory tour. If you're buying one forklift, you're not going to do a factory tour. But if you're buying a fleet of forklifts, you want to go to the factory. You want to see how these are put together. And that's one of the things that we do. I personally will go out with my customers and we do factory tours. We take a look at everything from the welds. We take a look at the electronic connections. We look at the carriages. We look at all, depending upon what the asset is. We look at all of the mechanical nuts and bolts and see whether or not we like it. We look for weak links, and that's our training. That's our background. We're not strictly finance guys. We're nut and bolt grease monkeys that happen to fall in the world of finance. And we lend our area of expertise, because the goal is if you make a bad decision, if you under spec or if you over spec, or if you're sold a bill of goods by finance or by one of the local salespeople, we ultimately be the one that's going to be paying for that. So we're like a big brother, if you will, always looking over your shoulder. From there, once you've analyzed all of the proposals, you do your proposal review, and then you award. You award it to either the equipment manufacturer and or the dealer, and then you issue your PO. That's going to go to the manufacturer, the dealer. They will accept the order, and then they'll order or begin to manufacture your equipment. Now, internally, as a company, as a lessee, you're going to determine how are we going to pay for this. You're either going to use internal funds, you're going to use your bank lines, you're going to lease it, you're going to rent it, whatever the case may be. So you send out an RFP to the dealer. Well, the dealer, a lot of times, or the manufacturer, it'll say lease and finance options may be a part of its initial proposal. And what that is that's called a third-party captive, a white label. And then what happens is they bundle these deals together and they sell it out on the capital markets or the equity funds. Nothing wrong with it, but a lot of times people think like that's where we're going to start with this company, we're going to end with this company, but it's not true. The paper gets sold just like your mortgage gets sold. So you may also say, well, let's sit down and let's reach out to our bank and see what the bank has to offer. And they're going to review the manufacturer or dealer proposals, and they're going to look at the specifications. But the fact is, this is not their core competence. So what they're going to do is they're going to go to a third-party appraiser, consultants, and then it hits the credit committee of the bank. And they then will sell the equity on the capital markets. How banks operate is they love the debt. In other words, they want that interest with the rental payments. So if it's a 60-month term, they want that rental payment at the end. Any of that residual exposure, what the residual position was, or any lease extensions thereafter, they want nothing to do with it. They sell that on the secondary market. The other one of the downsides of going with the bank on a big scale for your company is you typically will have bank limits, credit borrowing limits, revolving lines of credits. You want to leave those untapped whenever possible. So you want to free up your money. And then you have what they call independence. We are an independent, but because we specialize, we're more asset specific. We understand the assets. We understand the market. We understand utilization. We don't have these delusions of grandeur thinking that the unit's going to come back all turtle waxed and armor all tires and looking beautiful. We know what it's going to look like when it comes back. And we factor all that in. So our residual assumptions are accurate and they're fair, they're ideal. So what we do, and this is where we bring a lot to the table in the form of a leasing fleet consultant. We're essentially a pro bono lease consultant for you. We perform a needs analysis. So typically we just don't get the lease, or I'm sorry, the RFQ. We're going to call you back. We're going to ask a lot of questions as far as the application, the environment, the user type. What are you lifting? How far? What are you doing? Who's doing the maintenance? Is it in-house? Is it third party? If it is third party, how far is the local dealer? We're going to look in our database and see whether or not compare our own notes on that specific dealer. And so we'll know what to expect and what not to expect. We're also, most importantly, we're going to look at your pricing, because although you buy a lot of equipment, and you might be one of the biggest boys on the planet attending this webinar today, but although you buy a lot of equipment, throughout our life, we have bought a lot more equipment. And our customers are, from our executive team, are essentially some of the biggest companies on the planet. So we bring all of that wealth of knowledge to the table. as well as we have, if we feel that you're big enough, if your purchasing point is high enough, we can make the introduction to the national account reps and get you to a second tier of pricing, which by the way benefits us, because if you overpay, we overpay. We do in-house reviews, specification review, pricing comparisons. And then we hold all transactions for our own account. And I have to say, right here, I was trying to put in another box and the clock was ticking, because we have a new program that's coming out. It's a pilot program. And we're actually going to be offering a carbon neutral product, not just for internal combustion engines, but anything electric too. So your computers, R2 certification for disposition strategies at the end of the term. So for your vehicles, your batteries that you're going to have, any of your IT, that stuff has to be disposed of properly. And we're going to have the certification process in place. So again, a true cradle to grave asset management. Now, at the end of the term, I have to move something here, I apologize. So at the end of the term, you're going to make, I'm sorry, so once you decide who you're going to lease with, here's what ends up happening. You make your payment, but because again, based on what we talked about here, about the selling of the portfolio, you don't know who you're going to on. So you'll get a message that says you pay it to ABC company, pay it to this company, pay it to that company. Sometimes they have a program set up, it's called a Dropbox, so that you might continue to make the payments, but you don't know who you're leaving that transaction with at the end of the base term. Same with the bank. You don't know who you're going to be ending up with at the end. Sometimes the banks are the good reputable banks. You continue to make your paper flow to that bank, but they're nothing more than a pass-through. It's going out to the third party. With Delta, it stays. We don't sell any transactions. We keep all transactions for our own account. That provides a real sense of comfort and peace of mind, knowing that at the end of the term, your money, your investment is there in that asset at the end of the term. And again, we're the only one that's going to have a backflow on these arrows. Delta lease payments are tier 1 and tier 2 diversity spend. And that's somewhat of the big one. But again, the diversity spend is wonderful. And that's great. That's probably a big part of why we're here today. But in reality, it's the last card we like to talk about. We like to talk about all of the other service and benefits that we bring to the table. So, sorry, there we go. That's my cool question guy. Here's my contact information as well. I will put it in the chat. One other thing, going back to what Jeff Anderson was saying, he's talking about the electrification of fleets. We have a lot of clients right now that are going from internal combustion, whether it's LP, CNG, gas, diesel, to electric. I was involved in this 25 years ago on the airline side. So we're very, very strong in that area. And there's a lot of outlay of cash. There's a lot of tax incentives and benefits that are available. That money typically should be earmarked for infrastructure and putting in your power grid and doing some of the things that Jeff does. Conversely, the mechanical assets that have a limited economic useful life cycle should be considered as a viable candidate for leasing. So with that, I will bail off. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And up last, we have Henry Rosario.
Sure thing. Bill, I just think you need to stop sharing your screen when you get a chance.
I'm trying. I'm really trying. There we go. Thanks. Thanks. Did I get it?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Give me 1 moment here. Right. Can everyone see me and my presentation?
Yes, sir, you're good to go.
Great. Cool. So thank you all for attending. It means a lot to Jeff and Will and I that you take the time to look at veteran-owned certified businesses, especially on a Monday. So thank you. I'm Henry, and our company is Outpatch. We're founded by myself and another veteran, basically to provide a more sustainable alternative to promotional items. So in the promotional item space, I'm sure you've gotten tons of plastic pens and USB drives and whatever else they're giving out. And those products, though cool, sometimes do create a lot of waste for the planet. So we wanted to create a sustainable alternative and came up with this. So we do stick-on patches that are made out of recycled plastic. So the thing about our patches is that you can stick them on anything and they're machine washable. So you can put them on jackets, mugs, notebooks, really whatever you'd like. It makes a great, again, waste-saving product that you can give out to employees or whoever else as gifts. And they are made out of 100% post-consumer recycled plastic. So plastic bottles that get broken down and turned to thread and then spun into patches. And the last thing is that we donate a portion of our proceeds to humanitarian nonprofits around the world, specifically underfunded humanitarian nonprofits. So we do a lot of work to find amazing nonprofits that are doing amazing work in pretty disastrous circumstances, and then try and match them with your company depending on your values or mission alignment. Our process is pretty straightforward. It takes about 3 to 4 weeks for us to make patches. So we'll receive your order, come up with a digital proof for you to approve, and then a physical proof for you to approve. And then once that's approved, we'll go ahead and manufacture them. All our orders ship from Vermont, and we can do it pretty quick. If it's, we get a lot of last minute requests, so we are pretty flexible as far as shipping. And then we package them up and send them out to you. These are some of the patches we've done for some companies. The first one was a Salesforce event. So they have a big internal employee gathering. This year was in Chicago. So they basically did this as a little party gift. And then another company, Rad Power Bikes, they're a big e-bike company out of Seattle. They did it celebrating, I think it was their 1st or 3rd birthday, I think. And then lots of other small businesses use us as merchandise. So for them to sell sort of something that represents their logo or their brand's image. Just some additional details. So all of our patches come on these backing cards that on the front speak to the sustainability, on the back speak to the impact mission. You can also customize them. So Salesforce did this custom backing card that spoke to the event and how much they cared about their employees and their own impact mission. We can also put the patches in envelopes and mail them out individually. Like I said, they stick on anything, so they really make a great gift. And we also have an amazing network of artists that can create a really beautiful custom design for you based on your brand's image. That's it. Try to keep it short and sweet, but these are our certifications in addition to being service disabled veterans. We also have a bunch of certifications related to our industry. So as far as the recycled material and the manufacturing process being safe and all that. And that is it. I'll just leave this up and put our website in the chat, but I'm happy to answer any questions and would love to be put in contact with any HR reps or marketing folks, or if you have a corporate merchandising buyer, someone that would be doing these sorts of promotional items, I'd love to be put in touch with them, and you can just shoot me an email, which I put in the chat. So that's it for me.
All right, thank you
for
very
your time.
much. You guys all did great. I'm going to open the floor for questions now. I'm looking through the chat and it seems Jeff answered the question that was for him. Bill, there was a question for you if leasing with Delta remains diversity spend throughout the life of the asset.
It does, and that's one of the important things and why we don't sell. So yes, because in reality, when the piece of equipment is ordered, it's paid for all up front, and then the rental stream comes back to us. So it was purchased 100% through the diversity spend channel, and so yes, the short of it is yes.
All right, thank you for that. And then Mike Schuler did send you a message asking to connect. Just wanted to make sure that you saw that message.
I just received it. Thank you.
Yep. Anna at Birdie Boutique says, for Henry, she loves your mission. Henry, love this. I've not seen this technique before. So if anyone has any other questions, the floor is yours.
Hi, Lex. This is Alan Torres from T-Mobile. For all of the presenters today, the question about being certified in California with the CPUC, that's one question for all of them. And then that follow-up question for Bill on the leasing of large amounts of equipment. To me, it sounds similar to a value-added reseller program that we have here at T-Mobile. We spend millions of dollars a year with value-added resellers for the purchase of large pieces of equipment. And instead of purchasing those pieces of equipment, possibly leasing the equipment would be an option. What are you seeing in terms of dollar spend with large Fortune, say 100 companies in terms of this area? I mean, is it millions of dollars of leases? And sort of, can you size it for me? Is it how popular is it? Is it taking over the industry by storm, or is it still in its growth phase?
Yeah, thank you. That's a good question, and I want to get back to you on the CPUC. On the leasing side, I've personally had. I mean, these are major. I'd say top Fortune 100 companies that myself personally have done 120 million a year with just the one company for one asset class. When you, for example, if you get on an airplane, the airlines don't own those airplanes. The airplane is leased and the engines are leased separately. The jet bridge you walk down is leased. The air conditioning thing underneath is leased. When you're sitting at the intersection of a train crossing, every one of those trains are leased. The locomotives are leased. The things that build the railroad tracks, the MOW, maintenance of way, that's leased. We go into food production and manufacturing. There's water jet laser cutters that cut the chicken up into chicken McNuggets or cubes, or printing presses. We have an appropriation right now we're looking at. It's $19 million for one company just for their cell phones. So instead of them using one of the carriers, leasing directly through them, they're doing it. They're looking to do that through us. And the same holds true with, so as far as leasing has been around since mid 70s, and I've personally been in this space just under 30 years. So I've seen a lot, everything from chemical to baby food. I did millions of dollars worth of pea pickers for baby food. So it's you name it, it's out there. From your resellers, that's something I'd really like to sit down and talk to you about how we could structure something that I get my head around a little bit better idea as to what assets we're talking about and how we would structure that. But that's definitely, please reach out to me and send me an email. And I apologize, I'm not familiar off the top of my head with the CPUC. So maybe you could explain that.
Yeah, sure. The California Public Utilities Commission.
Oh.
To get credit for spend in California, a company has to be registered and certified by the CPUC. There's a special process for that. They have a clearinghouse. And that's what I was asking about. We're looking at making sure that we're meeting our commitments to the state of California in addition to our nationwide goal. So that's why I asked about California in particular.
Yeah, and again, I don't know if it's the same, but I know in the world of leasing, you have to be registered in the state of California. It's the only state in the union that you have to be registered there. So which we are, but I will look into that though.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Keel Russell with Orange Line Media. I do have a question for Henry. We're in similar space as Henry, but we're going through our sustainability journey, and we're going through an EcoVadis assessment right now. I would love to partner with you on, supplying your particular products to our clients, because that's one of the things that we do really well is when we work with large Fortune 500 companies, we offer sustainable products for every category we submit as a part of our proposal. So I'd love to include your items in our proposal.
Yeah, I'd love that, Gil. Please shoot me an email or put your email in the chat and I will send you a message for sure.
Good, sounds good. Thank you.
And I will check out Orange Lab.
Keel, thanks for connecting with Henry. I was actually going to send you a message that we should talk to him.
Right. He has some cool items. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Yeah, sure.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay, I'll just make a comment. So Novova will be at Disability Inn next week. If any of you folks are going to be there and would like to connect, Nancy will be there. And then the following 2 weeks after that, in August, Novova will be at the NGLCC conference, where we will be honoring our LGBT Veteran Business of the Year. So if any of you will be at that conference, let us know. You should get some notification, one through NGLCC and two through the Novova newsletter for the reception that we'll be hosting there. For any of you corporates that have not done the presentation, we do have the corporate engagement hour. Welcome you to email me and let me know that you would like to get your time scheduled. And with the veteran businesses, I think you all know Alexis and Nancy. You can reach out to either of those two, so that you can make sure you have your opportunity to do your presentation. Any questions, comments, concerns, Keel? Make sure you look for Nancy. She will be at Disability Inn.
Okay, awesome.
Nancy, any comments?
No, Keel, I'll send you my my tech number in case you want to text me. Well, if we don't see each other there, I'll put my contact information for you, and I look forward to meeting you in person.
Good, thank you. I look forward to meeting you as well.
Thank you.
You can't miss me. I'll be on stage.
Oh, okay.
And there's a
That's
few
good.
new folks here today, so thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. All right, Alexis, I'll let you close it out.
All right, thank you to our presenters. You guys all did great, and thank you to everyone for coming. I will leave this meeting open for a few minutes in case anyone wants to get anything out of the chat. But other than that, if you guys don't need anything, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank
to the
you.
presenters.